Good morning. Last time I left you, I was on my computer and the screen that was shown was the confirmation of run sign up and the official website locked in for the last one standing. This week is going to be an absolutely chaotic week because I'm actually traveling later today, which is Monday, to Las Vegas for 3 days, capturing for work for my day job. And while all that is happening, going to be simultaneously at night, early in the morning, flying, traveling, working on finalizing the announcement for this Friday for the last one standing. So by the time you see this, the race will already have been posted on Friday and announced. Yeah, the sheer amount of expenses and things that are lining up for this race is very humbling. When I first kind of came up with the idea, I was like, hey, I'm just going to make it super punk rock, super backyard. And now it's turned into official signups and looking into timers and bibs and medals or certifications and sponsors and tents and food and generators and lights and safety and ambulance and EMTs. And the prices are quickly climbing. But I just feel that people deserve the best, and I feel that people really truly would expect nothing less of Common, and so that's what I'm gonna do. So the investment this week, the overtime hours, the morning and the late nights, and everything's gonna kind of go into getting this off the ground. And please bear with me, as this is my first time ever hosting a race. This is my first time setting anything like this up. I'm not new to event production by any means. I've done tons of events and world tours, and Times Square New Year's Eve is something I've done a few different times. So the production side is nothing new. I'm excited to get kind of in that space, but the race itself. So this Friday, nothing's confirmed right now. No waste, no trash, no generators and electrical, but all the emails have been sent. So everything needs to fall into place in the next 5 business days. But I know that if I do not pull the pin on the grenade, if I don't pull that pin, I'm just going to hold the grenade, and then the 1-year anniversary of Common in March is just going to pass us. And there's no better time to do this than 1-year anniversary, because I so strongly believe that nobody could pull something like this off in the area other than Common because of the people. Let the chaotic week begin. So that was an absolutely miserable trip. Got in at like 1:30 a.m. Las Vegas time, so that's a couple hour time change from good old Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And it almost felt like when I was trying to go to bed that my body was ready to wake up due to the time change, so that sucks. But got a couple hours of sleep, made sure I kind of just walked on the treadmill for an hour. Couldn't really find anything else in my body just because I didn't have dinner last night. Got on the plane, I was hoping to get something, and there was just absolutely nothing. So I had a protein bar and one of those like Fairlife drinks just to kind of like know what I'm eating. High protein, you know, like what, 400 calories or whatever it was, and 50 grams of protein. So when I got in last night, I didn't want to eat a bunch of garbage. So I just went right to bed. And I was excited because I thought there was going to be a buffet here for breakfast, but it's $15. I don't feel like dealing with that. So I'm gonna run and get actual coffee here in a little bit. Hopefully I can get something to put in my mouth, or stop by a gas station, get a Red Bull, get a protein bar. And today we're heading to World of Concrete. Massive event out here in Las Vegas. I have a client that I'm capturing for. I have to address that as I'm talking to. People think like, confidence my job, doing Common. I'll talk about that in another episode. That's gonna have to be like a whole different episode. But yeah, just balancing all the fucking spinning plates, making sure they don't fall. Yeah. Let's go have a kick-ass day.
We're here at World of Concrete 2026.
So that concludes 2-day capture here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it's late afternoon.
and I'm offloading all the memory cards and doing all of that and getting to all my emails and kind of prepping some social media stuff for Common here tomorrow, using the time I can. But in Vegas, there is a punk rock museum that just opened up. I believe it just opened up. I'm not exactly sure. But I really want to make it out to that. And I think they close at 6. So I have an hour or two until they close. And I wanted to kind of get out there and check it out. I've never been. And I'm going to shower, change, do all the things, and go check out the punk rock museum. Obviously, this has nothing to do with anything, whether it's work or Common, but it's what I'm going to do this evening before I come back and chill in bed and get to bed early before I fly out at the ass crack of dawn tomorrow. So, just wrapped that up. That was a lot of fun. I spent way too much time. I probably spent way more time than I needed to, but it was cool to dive back in like old history of punk rock stuff. It was awesome. Not as much like modern pop punk stuff and punk rock stuff as I thought there was gonna be. I thought there was gonna be like a lot more Warped Tour stuff. And there was only one wall of like hardcore, but it makes sense because that's not punk, you know. But definitely worth it. Gonna go find some food, pass out, and get my ass home because tomorrow's Thursday and that means it's Run Club Day, and that means I'm flying all day long and it's a 7-hour or 8-hour journey, if not longer, just because there's the time change, and then the first flight is 4 hours, and then I have, or like 3 hours, something like that, to Detroit, layover, and then to Harrisburg. There's never a direct from Harrisburg, but that kind of concludes my time here in Las Vegas, and I have to get my ass. Bye, Vegas. Laying in the hotel bed. I have to wake up at 2 tomorrow. Going to get a quick lift in, head to the airport, get on an early-ass flight, and fly home. And I decided it was a good idea to post this. So, the pin will be pulled from the grenade. Going to throw it out into the world. And there's a shit ton of stuff that's not figured out and a ton of dollars attached to it. And my wife keeps making fun of me because she thinks it's going to be a fire fest. But we can't let that happen. That's my biggest anxiety right now. Is, setting this out into the world and not having everything worked out. And getting punched in the mouth with a bunch of different stuff. But I know there's going to be a ton of expenses. A ton. Like literally every hour I keep thinking of things that we need to do or get or budget for. Like fuel for a side-by-side. Waste management. Pop-up trash bags and trash cans. What about generators? There's just so much stuff. And I do not have any way of getting all of it done before Friday. But in order to make it happen during Common's birthday month of March, it has to happen now. So, it begins. Hopefully everybody understands that this is a lot of pressure and a lot of stress and a lot of chaos. But with chaos, good shit happens. Good night. Launch day of the Last One Standing race. Been up since 3 a.m. building the race website and figuring out this whole run sign up platform. It's time to get back to it. Yeah, so I'm kind of hitting up people today for sponsorships too. So like I'm hitting up all the friends, like all the people I've done stuff in the past year with, I'm now hitting up, basically being like, hey, like, do you want a sponsor? Do you want a tent spot? Do you want, like, Keiko's is gonna provide all the fruit and all the shit for the hospitality tent. So step 2 of the process right now, starting to reach out to hosts and locations that we've been to in the past year, trying to see who wants to sponsor and get involved with the race. Like I said, normally people would have this figured out beforehand, but I have a list of kind of people we've done collaborations with and other events with, and I want to kind of see if they want to have a tent there or take part in some sort of sponsor of the event, as well as just building a massive list to start building more hype around it to get more people interested and get more eyes on it. And then I have to start reaching out to local run clubs because I want to invite them formally, as well as on top of that I want to invite other run clubs from outside of our city and other places, and then other runners in spaces, and just constantly working on this. I need to get out of the house though and run a bunch of errands because the snow is coming this weekend. So I have to get sleds and kids' toys and all the supplies, because if we get snowed in, it's gonna be rough. So yeah. So with the chaos that goes on in my family, we're always on the run, grab and go, and the kids really like these just as a quick grab and go snack. Obviously there's chocolate chips in them, but you can put however many you want, or you can make them without the chocolate chips. And so super simple ingredients. Let's talk about them. Chocolate chips or not, obviously you have peanut butter, you got some honey for sweetener if you want to use that, flaxseed, rolled oats, and the protein. Now you just add them in the bowl, whip them up. It's pretty easy. You gotta make it an effort to do. Have to add a little bit more protein because it's kind of like dry and crumbly. That's what you want, so you can pick up little balls. You want a protein ball too? Here you go. There you go. Thank you, dude. Now with that said, I make them once a week, put them in the fridge, serve them cold. Kids love that shit, I love that shit. And then I approximate them at like 115 or so, 150 calories, just depending on how big the ball is. Get a little bit of a sweet, get some honey in there, get protein, and it's super simple ingredients. All good shit in there, nothing crazy that you cannot spell or name, so you know what you're putting in your mouth. That's what matters. And if you did not realize, that's a weight loss tip or trick right there, because that satiates my peanut butter obsession, enough for me. And it gives you a little bit of chocolate for those people out there who cannot survive without chocolate. So, I think my wife's gonna start making dinner.
There's a lot of decisions that we made while making music that sometimes were hard decisions to make because it went against the grain. But it's not going to be a bad record, it's going to be a good record.
I see myself putting more into it now going forward than I have in a while.
We've learned we don't need to ram it in a 2-month period, or force it that way, and allow us to live our lives separately and together and make it work.
Just incredibly grateful, man.
So it's story time. So it's the fall of 1996, and it's story time. And my older brothers they did a lot of motocross at the time. And so I will never forget getting into my brother's Ford Ranger, or small ass truck with 3 bench seats in the front, and getting in and seeing 2 different albums sitting on that bench seat. One I'd already known of because it's one of my favorite records at the time, Blink-182, Dude Ranch. So I'll never forget, obviously the cover with it has the steer on the front, the branded ass cheek right there for Dude Ranch. But then there's another one that I saw and I was kind of like shook a little bit. I had no idea, I'd never seen, never heard of this band. And obviously at that point in time in 1997, I was 9 years old. Born in 1988, actually the year that the band that we're talking about today started. And so 9 years later, I was hopping into that truck and I saw an album,
and it had like a girl on the front. She was like in her underwear or a bathing suit on the front. I was like, man, she has a tattoo. This is super edgy. Turns out to be one of the most influential, life-changing records for me as a person, not just because of the sound and the style, but the drumming inside of it. And being a drummer myself, Abe Gunningham, the drummer of the band that we're talking about, just has never ceased to amaze me in 20 plus years of me listening to this band, 30 years of me listening to this band. No, just 20 plus years of me listening to this band has never ceased to like really just everything this man does is incredible. And the band that we're talking about and the album right now of the week that I'm discussing is Deftones, Around the Fur. And this album is iconic in 5,000 different ways. But the first one, like I said, to me was that story, and I'll never forget that. Having something so opposite from Blink-182, but influential in the drumming space in a totally, completely different way, I'll just never forget that. So for many of you who did not grow up in this era of music, the new label term was thrown onto Deftones, which obviously included, in this era was Linkin Park, you had Toxicity by System of a Down that dropped, you had Slipknot, you had Limp Bizkit, and of course, the mother of all mothers at that time, Korn. So this like whole style of music, this Hot Topic, crazy sort of Woodstock 99 music was going on, and Deftones was kind of thrown into it. And it's aggressive music. It's aggressive, riffy, rocky. Sometimes it would have like that DJ sort of taste and flair to it. But moving on from Around the Fur, and I don't want to make this all about all of Deftones albums, but they're one of the only bands for me that I continue listening to 20 some years later as a new artist. Like they consistently are evolving. They're consistently just releasing music that pushes the envelope of their space rather than some of those other artists I mentioned. I go back to those records to feel that or to like hear that same thing. I look at Deftones now as a new artist every single time because they're just doing new things and progressing even years and years and years later. And yeah, just finding that record for Around the Fur, listening to that record, hearing that first the first riff that clicks in on that record, man. And then track 4, I'm not even sure off the top of my head, but the like for a drummer, that shit was insane. And I've played it thousands of times on my drum kits. I've always just kind of remembered that track. I'm always air drumming to that stuff. And that is the record of the week, Around the Fur. Can't even get into the White Pony era just because that album is completely life-changing in many different ways, from TRL and Headbangers Ball and that whole world. But dude, if you've never listened to Deftones Around the Fur, check that shit out. Thanks for watching this video. Another Sunday done, 3 weeks into it, sticking to it. This one, I'm capturing this minutes before editing it and throwing it up on the YouTube, but I made a promise I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I keep doing it. And The Last Man Standing is out in the world. Tickets are being sold. And I could not be more stoked for that. And that's what we're going to do. Thanks for watching.